let's begin the April 21st, 2025 meeting of the Tonganoxie City Council. Let's go ahead and do the attendance, and then we will get started with our meeting.
Mr. Partridge?
Here.
Ms. McCutcheon's absent, and Mayor Freeze is absent. Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Donnelly?
Here.
Mr. Dale?
Here.
All right, let's please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge the allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Porter, I've been told that there's one person who has signed up before the deadline to address council tonight. Would you please come up to the podium and state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening. My name is Neil Brawley, and I'm here to address the council regarding the speed limit on West Sycamore Street as opposed to the speed limit over here on 4th Street and Main Street. Main Street and 4th Street speed limits 20 miles an hour. And West Sycamore, which is a residential street, which has a sort of an S-curve inside it, a lot of cars parked on the curb. There are young children up the road there, and the speed limit's 30 miles an hour. And I know from talking with George earlier that that's sort of Kansas State KSA type speed limit. But I would address that as a maximum speed limit, and I think good judgment should prevail, and that speed limit should be closer to 20 miles an hour, just like this street out here, which is historic, but it really doesn't have any children running around dashing after balls, things of that nature. So I don't think there's much work in taking that 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign down and replacing it with a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'd like the city to consider that and address that, because there are young children in here that don't look both ways before they dash out in the street. So that's my comment, and if you'd consider that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions from council?
You're talking about the street from North Clear Creek to County Road.
I'm talking, West Sycamore Street comes off of Smiley Road or 222nd. And then it goes out to the west and sort of curves around to the north, and it branches off a little bit. But all the traffic in that neighborhood goes in on West Sycamore, and all of the traffic comes out on West Sycamore.
Smiley
So-
to the west.
I beg your pardon?
You're talking about Sycamore Smiley to the then west.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
West
okay. I just
Sycamore.
want to make sure I got it correct.
Yeah, there's a East Sycamore too, but.
Yeah, that's good to make that clarification.
Any other questions for me?
Very good.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you for sharing your concern. All right, next up is the approval of minutes from our last meeting on April 7th. Is there any discussion? If
Make a
not,
motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
all right, got a motion. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. If there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. There's nothing under old business, so let's move ahead to new business for tonight. Staff may have a brief summary of this, and I know we have a speaker.
Point of order, I'm sorry, we need to approve bill payments, I think.
Oh, yeah, we do. Thank you. Thanks to our accountant here. Yes, yes, we need to allow for business at the city to continue, and I know we've reviewed the bill payments for the last 2 weeks, and we've reviewed those. Are there any, if there are not any comments, I will look for a motion to approve.
Also move.
Thank you, Mr. Partridge. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, that has passed. Okay, now we will move on to item A under new business, to consider special event permit and public firework display for a World War II reenactment event on June 21st.
Thank you. I'll do a quick introduction. Members of the City Council may remember this item from last year, which I believe was the inaugural year for this event. It's organized by the local school superintendent, Lauren Feldkamp, and Andy Burke, who's here tonight, I think. Yep, there he is. And he's here to answer any questions you may have. You may remember also last year that the City Council requested that the event organizers notify residential property owners within a certain perimeter of the proximity to the perimeter of the event area. And that's aimed at an effort to communicate with them so they're not taken by surprise when large crowds or loud noises could occur during the event programming. We did have a good turnout last year at the event, and city staff reviewed this application and reported back no concerns to the City Council in regards to how the event flowed through last year and public feedback that the city received. The event's scheduled in June, and you'll hear a lot about events in June at the meeting entirely tonight. And this is Friday, June 20th, and Saturday, June 21st, with programming as described in the agenda packet materials. One other reason that this comes to the City Council versus just a staff review and feedback is that there is a request for use of city-owned property, which is just located generally to the west, adjacent to Pleasant Street on the west of the city property, and the VFW Park is located on the east of the city-owned property. So because of that request, this is brought to you for your consideration. Staff would be happy to answer any questions, and I know Mr. Burke would as well, if you have anything for him.
I can tell you one, I appreciate what you're doing. It was really cool last year, and it was really a good event. And it brought people into town, and it wasn't too scary.
Yes, it really was. We appreciate the opportunity. Last year, it's something we've talked about for a couple of years, and then with Mr. Feldkamp's connections with the reenactors, it really made the event great. It's also kind of a educational and historical event because it does commemorate D-Day. Last year was the 80th anniversary of D-Day. This will be the 81st anniversary of D-Day. And all of the reenactors are period correct with their uniforms and their equipment. So it spurs a lot of conversations with the younger folks to learn about the history of it. And then it's great to get everybody into the park and into Tonganoxie to see the area. It's a great town. We want to show it off. And this brought a couple hundred people into the area to see everything. So we hope to have a bigger crowd this year. I know the reenactors are very happy to come back. They said it was some of the best hospitality they've ever seen. So they're real happy to come back and do it again.
Thank you for that summary. And also, thank you, Mr. Porter said that the neighbors were either already have been notified for this year, just because I know some elderly folks along that area who have older pets. And so it's just nice to know that they're prepared and won't be startled by the activity. But it's a great time. It's always a good time to learn about history, but it's a great time to be learning about World War II. And I'm glad that you guys are bringing that history alive for everybody in our community, especially the young people. So thank you.
Thank you.
I would make a motion that we approve the special event permit application and public fireworks display request for the military vehicle show and World War II reenactment organized by the Tonganoxie VFW Post, Tonganoxie American Legion, and the World War II Historic Reenactment Society, Inc., located in the VFW Park and on city property adjacent to the VFW Park on June 21st, 2025, 7:30 to 5.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly and Mr. Partridge. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll be there. Okay, on to item B, ordinance 529, amend the legal description of the annexation, ordinance 1516. George, I think you have a summary of this.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. As you all probably recall, Ordinance 1516 was an action that the City Council took in late 2023. It was two property owners that were looking to voluntarily annex land into the city near the Tonganoxie Business Park. We subsequently took actions, submitted that to the county because the county viewed this as an island annexation, which required their review and quasi-approval of the annexation to move forward. They would not give that approval, and I'll save everybody a bunch of time, but there were district court legal proceedings where the judge found that that ordinance 1516 is valid. So very recently, we approached the county about this item, and they were willing to go ahead and recommend the annexation at this time. So the one caveat is we need to change a snippet of the legal description to include half of 222nd Street that is adjacent to the land that's being annexed. So Ms. Kirstelich would be happy, I'm sure, and thrilled to go through the legal process that's required here, but ultimately we're just, that's what this ordinance 1529 does, is amends the legal description of the property that's being taken only to account for that half of that road right of way that we're taking as part of the annexation. You will get this, assuming this gets approved tonight, we'll get it submitted, and then we'll, ask the county to quickly follow through with the annexation by creating the appropriate taxing jurisdictions. That's something the county clerk needs to do. So this is kind of that last final step for us. Be happy to answer any other questions, or if you have something for Ms. Kirstelich as well.
Just one, George, so that takes the entire road now into the city?
No, I'm sorry. So what the road that's in the city now and that we proposed as part of the voluntary annexation is the length of the road from the southern to northern edge of the property that where the Tonganoxie Business Park is. So there's a large 50-acre tract right across the street. So in the original annexation, we proposed to take that half of the roadway because that would make sense from a maintenance and so now the additional piece is just to the south of that, but only on that west side of the road. Okay. Yes, correct. Okay. Good question for clarification, though.
Any additional questions for Mr. Brockovich or?
Will this ever end?
We're very optimistic people. We hope this finalizes it, and the fact that they took action to approve the annexation, we feel that's, we've passed that now.
I didn't mean that kind of a question, Mr. Donnelly. Okay. I would be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1529, an ordinance amending the legal description in section 1 of ordinance number 1516 that provided for annexation of certain land in Leavenworth County, Kansas into the limits and boundaries of the city of Tonganoxie, Kansas, repealing existing section 1 of ordinance number 1516, ratifying and affirming all other sections of ordinance number 1516 as to the corrected legal description.
Second.
All right, hearing no other discussion and two motions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to Tonganoxie Days funding requests.
Thank
See
you,
we
Ms.
have
Stevens. I can do an
Joanna.
initial information sharing, and then I also want to recognize that Joanna Ibez, the elected president of the Tonganoxie Business Association and main leader of the Tongi Days 2025 event, is also here tonight. The group that is comprised of a mix of the TBA leadership, city staff, and community volunteers has met several times recently and advanced plans for June 14th, 2025 as the scheduled date for the Tongi Days event, like we previously discussed at a recent council meeting. The plans are advancing quickly. I think the vendor form was just released earlier today, actually, for signups for craft vendors, and the city's special event permitting process is underway with the event organizers. The request before the council tonight is for the distribution of funding as included in the 2025 adopted budget. If you'll recall, the 2025 adopted budget included an amount of funding for this event of $7,500. Those funds go towards helping provide the infrastructure for the event, like porta potties, the stage, live music performances, as well as other materials needed by the organizers. The cost for putting on the event has increased in the past several years, and that's something the event planners have noted, but they are making efforts to live within that budget and utilize small savings from previous year's events to help make up the difference in costs that they're seeing in the budget planning and development right now. So staff don't have any other comments to share with the council. We do recommend the council consider approving this request, and we'll expedite the sharing of the funds with TBA so that can be done quickly, and vendor contracts and other obligations can be made. But happy to take any questions if you have any.
Mrs. Ibis is here if you do have any questions. I see her back there. Thank you for our volunteers putting this on. And Mr. Porter, you did say the cost has increased slightly. However, I do recall a time since I've been on council that the cost was quite a bit more in my memory here in Tonganoxie. So I think this is quite a small budget to put on a large festival for a growing community like ours. So I would commend you on your budget and how you've laid things out.
No budget issues on our end.
No, we're fully prepared. It's the general fund, and we're ready to make the payment whenever.
All right. If there's no further discussion, I'd look for a motion.
I would make a motion, we approve $7,500 commitment to the Tonganoxie Business Association for the Tonganoxie Days event on June 14th, 2025.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, passed unanimously. All righty, thank you for being here.
That's a lot of work.
Yes, it definitely is. We just have one agenda item left. It's about the bid for the sanitary sewer main TV inspection services for 2025. Very exciting for our guests who are here tonight. Don't feel like you need to stay and hear about the sewer camera. Yes, I'll let staff do a quick breakdown of this, and we'll move on.
This is the highlight of someone's year, probably not anyone in this room, but this is an item that was included in the 2025 adopted budget. We periodically need to inspect our sanitary sewer mains throughout the city's infrastructure. I believe we have over 28 miles of mains in total, so this represents an inspection and cleaning and televising of a very small portion. It's a targeted effort by our Public Works Director, Kent Heskett, who identifies through either reported backup issues or other concerns with infrastructure condition, the areas in most need of attention. We did collect bids from 2 companies who provided hourly rates for us to consider for both televising and jet cleaning at the same time, the sanitary sewer mains in these areas. The city's overall scope of work was anticipated to be only a period of about 20 hours. However, we do anticipate that there could be an opportunity to extend that time either later in the year as more areas of need come into focus through reports from homeowners, or depending on the results of the inspection of the initially planned scope of area within our infrastructure. We do anticipate that through this, we'll discover future projects. In the past, you'll remember other project areas or needs and concerns are identified, so we'll keep the council fully apprised of that as we learn more information and review the television footage. We do recommend that the council approve a bid from Ace Pipe Cleaning, a Carolyn company. This was the lowest cost bid at just under $700 per hour. The other bid came in at $900 an hour, so a pretty significant difference. We also do anticipate, because again of that opportunity to evaluate more of our system, that despite the bid coming in at only a little more than $13,000, we asked for up to $25,000 in approval for the project during 2025, rather than come back to the city council or delay the project if they're out here working and identify a need to stay longer. So instead of about 2.5 days of work, that's authorizing about 4.5 days of work at a maximum under the current terms. Be happy to take any questions the council may have, but again, Mr. Heskett's considered these bids and fully supports moving ahead, and they'll start as soon as approved.
Great. Council, any questions beyond what Mr. Porter has provided us?
Well, can't manage that time, is can't, will be the one on top of the time and make.
Yes, he will be the coordinator. Just one additional point, and I'm sorry if Mr. Porter mentioned it and I just missed it, but this is also part of the larger scope of asset management that we're beginning the process of in terms of identifying, inventorying, and doing preventative maintenance on both sanitary sewer as well as water lines. You know, we have compiled maps that we're planning to share with you in short order of, you know, some historical data of where we've had issues over the last, you know, maybe 8 to 10 years. It's kind of where we start losing, I guess, the ability to say this is an accurate reflection of either water main breaks or sanitary sewer main backups. And so this obviously goes into that and helps us prioritize projects as we advance CMIP discussions, similar to the project that we're planning to do now, just off 2440 between 2nd and 3rd Street. So anyway, just wanted to make sure we were still tracking that part of it. Thanks.
Great. Council, any additional questions? If not, I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the project proposal from Ace Pipe Cleaning for the 2025 sewer inspection project and authorize project expenditures associated with the project for an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. All right, that concludes our new business. The city manager agenda, it looks like we have a financial update.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This report is included in your packet. The full 16-page report details at length the revenues, expenditures by categories and subcategories, and of course by fund, which is our organization system and most critical review. I want to highlight something, though, that's found at the dais as a handout. It's a single page, and it's the last page of the financial report. It's a 3-year window look at motor vehicle and miscellaneous types of personal property tax. So reading it from top to bottom, you're essentially reading the 2026 projected in the top right and left columns, or I'm sorry, the top left is the 2026 projection highlighted in yellow. The top right is the difference from 2025 actuals for these types of tax. So these are not quite miscellaneous, but they are additional forms of property tax or ad valorem tax receipts that the city receives. They do make up a somewhat significant share of our general fund and debt service fund and library levies. You can see then that the total across all funds is just under $300,000 in 2026 projected. We received this information a little earlier from Leavenworth County. Then we received the full ad valorem property tax adjustment preparation notice in June. And we're sharing it with you just so you can understand it's one element of the property tax budget development for 2026. Something that's kind of interesting to note, if you look back at the 3-year window, on the right-hand side of this page, you see estimated tax revenue and a percent change. So in 2025, we're experiencing about a $13,000 decrease compared to 2024. And now we're projected to experience about a $17,000 increase compared to 2025. That's kind of perplexing. That's not something we've seen over the years, especially in the last, I'd say, 8 to 10 years. This has steadily declined as things are carved out of, especially personal property tax as exemptions through legislative actions and changes in policy by the state. What I think we also, though, noted was in 2025, there was an estimate error where the 16M and 20M trucks category was estimated at 0. We noticed that back last year at this time and contacted the county treasurer, who was newly appointed into his role at Leavenworth County as a stand-in for someone who resigned previously. And they noted that and claimed that it was accounted for in the motor vehicle category. But I think based on this review, we can see that that probably wasn't the case, or we suspect it's not the case. It didn't present a huge issue because it essentially shorted our revenue projections for 2025 compared to what in reality was to be collected and is being collected. But it definitely changed our assumptions when we built the budget. So that's something that we look at carefully every year because obviously revenues help develop our capacity for expenditures. I think looking at our 2026 estimate, I don't see any other concerns. Trend-wise, you can see that motor vehicles increased by about $16,000 from the prior year. RVs and watercraft both slightly decreased, and then CMV as a category slightly increased at a little less than $800 a year. But those are kind of the differences of note. And again, that's just one element as we build our revenue projections for next fiscal year. Going back to the remainder of the financial report, one thing to note through the first quarter is that we did complete our first set of quarterly transfers between funds. We also completed in an early fashion the transfer of sales tax that was utilized to pay off our temp note for 2023A, the loan with the local bank for the water tower debt obligation. So that was completed in the first quarter in order to have those funds available for the transaction, which occurred back in the end of February for that particular issue. But all other issues of note are noted in the report, and in the interest of time for Mr. Partridge, I'll conclude it there unless you have any questions.
I have one.
All right.
You probably had or will have your audit fieldwork dates soon. I think we have a new engagement partner this year. How's it going with them?
It's going really well. We actually this week have already kicked off a lot of the sharing of information and documents.
Very good. That's it.
All right. Our city attorney agenda. Do you have anything tonight? All right. Mayor Pro Tem agenda. I do not have any items this evening. City Council agenda.
One question on the West Sycamore question, the original, we review that, and we approve something periodically from the state and streets and rules and laws, and
Yeah.
is that on the agenda anytime soon? I don't remember when we do it. We do it periodically.
Sure. Well, we only reviewed if we're making changes. So typically, this is part of the standard traffic ordinance, and so it's, as I was explaining to Mr. Brawley earlier, it's by city code and the adoptions that we've done. Residential is defaulted to 30 miles an hour. Business districts, historic business districts like 4th Street default to 20. And so it's neighborhoods in the past that have petitioned, I can only think of one for 20 miles an hour, and that's Fall Creek Villas. They have kind of narrow streets and it meanders, but there is a process to consider that, and we've had other parts of the community that have complaints of speeding, and we typically try to address that with the police department and increasing patrols and enforcement efforts. But I don't have all that stuff at my fingertips, and I told Mr. Brawley, he and I go way back, that I would get that information to him, and then we can kind of see where we go collectively from there.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go on the record as saying I'm interested in seeing a change there just because it's not a through road. And it's not going to really slow anybody down too much to go 20 versus 30 there, I think.
All right, in the mayor agenda, as the acting mayor tonight, I also do not have any agenda items, and so I will defer to Mr. Dale.
Me?
Yes,
Oh, well, I would like to take this time to make a motion to adjourn.
all right.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Have a great couple of weeks, everybody. Enjoy the sunshine tonight.
Aye.